Namaste, welcome yogis. Welcome to this really beautiful evening in London. I don't think there's space for the dog there. He's going to try and squeeze into that small space. Okay, let's come on to our mats. Have available what we need for our practice. Our yin practice for today is we have a new moon in Aries. So our yin practice is going to be a new moon practice. And we'll be drawing in on this aspect of renewal, this essence of renewal that arrives with each new moon. Yin itself is a very cooling practice and it's associated with the lunar energy. So we are very much in keeping with our yin practice and the new moon in particular. Have available a couple of blocks or a large pillow or a bolster. We will come into half saddle or saddle, and we might want to raise the earth behind us. We're also going to come into a supported fish pose, for which we will need something underneath our shoulders and our head. It could be cushions. It doesn't have to be a block or a bolster. Cushions, large pillow, folded blankets. Or you can practice without props. So the option, it's a yin practice. I invite us to use props, but it's not necessary. We use props because it just helps us to create more space and access the poses through a way which supports us in meeting that edge. So usually in yin, when we practice without props, we can end up coming up to our edge very quickly, and then it can shift into beyond discomfort. The sensations may be too intense. So therefore we can manage the intensity of the sensations by using props. Let's come into our comfortable seat, legs crossed, lengthen the spine. Our mudra for this practice today is going to be the Chandekala mudra. And the Chandekala mudra is really simple. It's you extend your index and your thumbs and you create what looks like an L shape. And have your palms face up or face down, whatever feels comfortable for you. I like to have my palms face up for this. And this Chandekala mudra is a mudra for growth, for creativity. Linked in, you can see that even resembles a crescent moon. Closing your eyes. Coming into stillness. And as you arrive on your mat in this moment, I'm going to remind you about the key principles of yin. 3 principles. The first, we find our appropriate edge within each pose. And we might ease back a little bit from that edge so that as the time progresses, we can further. As the time progresses, we can sink further into each pose. The second principle is to remain still. Become aware of the present moment within which you are. If your mind wanders, becomes distracted, you become overly engaged in the sensations in your body so that they interfere with your calm, steady breath or your calm, steady thoughts. You can connect with an affirmation, an intention, a mantra. So today it might be, I am renewed with creativity. I align with the essence of the moon. I look deep within to move forward. The Sanskrit mantra that I offer you, if you wish to have a Sanskrit mantra, is Om Som Somaya Namaha. Om Som Somaya Namaha. This invites the sweet nectar of the moon. This nectar of the moon nourishes our emotions, our thoughts, our physical body. So that's the second principle. And the third principle is to hold that pose. So you can use those, when you come into that still pose and you use the yogic strategies of breath, of mantra, you are then able to hold that pose for a little bit longer, and you can move deeper into that pose or ease back from that pose. Allow the sensations to arise and dissolve with each in and out breath, and that will enable you to hold the pose for longer. So those are our 3 yin principles that connect us to the moon. So connect with your mantra, your intention, your affirmation in English or your home language or in Sanskrit. Om Som Somaya Namaha. I grow with creativity. I come into alignment with the essence of the new moon. I'm renewed by the nourishing energy of the new moon. I look deep within to align my emotions and thoughts. Sense the breath coming into that left nose, left nostril. So we'll practice our Anulom Vilom Pranayama, the type of breath that travels in through one nostril and out the other. I'll guide us through. Actually, let's do Chandra Bedi Pranayama. So it's a variation of Anulom Vilom. We'll breathe in and out of the left nostril. So with your dominant hand, you already have your thumb and index extended in Chandekala Mudra. So we'll use that to open and close the nostrils. The other hand maintains the mudra. Let's take a full breath in through both nostrils and a full breath out through both nostrils. Now cover the right nostril, inhale left. Cover the left nostril, exhale right nostril. Cover the right nostril, inhale left. Cover the left, release the right, exhale right. Cover the right, inhale left. If your left nostril is blocked, take your index of your other hand and just lift the skin around the cheek away and up and away from your nostril. That opens up that passageway a little bit more for you. So we're breathing in through the left, breathing out through the right. Always breathing in through the left, breathing out through the right here. You may notice that you pause at the top and the bottom of each breath. These moments of stillness, of introspection, when you can look within, look to the dark side of the moon. In through left, cover the left, out through the right. Cover the right, in through left. Cover the left, out through the right. Using your index and thumb in Chandekala Mudra to cover and uncover your nostrils. Take 3 more in this pattern. In, left, out, right. In, left, out, right. Almost visualize this peak of a mountain. And the pinnacle of the mountain is above the bridge of your nose at the third eye. And when you've done the third round of Chandra Pranayam, this lunar breath, Chandra means moon. Take a full breath in through both nostrils and release through both. Bring your hands together in Namaskar, opening our practice by chanting Om 3 times, once for the earth, once for the moon, and once for the sun. Inhale fully. Om. 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 Hands to the third eye, Agnya chakra just above the place where your eyebrows meet. Namaste. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So let's move into our first pose here. We're going to come directly into child's pose today. So you might want to layer your mat with your blankets. That gives you a little bit of comfort, perhaps placing it underneath your knees so you've got a little bit of padding. So if you want to place a mat, now's a good opportunity. Place a blanket on your mat, now's a good opportunity to do that. Rearrange myself. Untuck your toes. So in recognition that we're doing a lunar new moon practice, a lunar practice in relation to the new moon, make sure you have your Chandekala Mudra. So we'll start off with center and we'll spend 1 minute here at center, arms reached overhead along the earth. And have your fingers in Chandekala. If that begins to feel uncomfortable, you can, of course, just relax and soften your hands. Inhale your navel towards the core here and have the intention that your crown is almost emitting a sliver of moonlight towards the top of your mat so that the energy is flowing through you. This renewal energy, perhaps some of us might call that prana or chi. For today, I'd like to refer to it as soma, the nectar of the moon. Now your eyebrow center can be directly on the earth, or you could have a cushion or a folded blanket underneath your eyebrow center. Yogi's choice. Now we're going to move our hands, our arms over to the left as far as they can reach. And you might want to move your cushion, if you have it underneath your eyebrow center, over to the left so that you feel a lateral stretch along the right side of your body. Find yourself here. And again, breathe deeply into the abdomen here. You're creating a crescent shape with your body, with your arms. Remember, if the inside of your ankles begins to feel uncomfortable on the earth, you can always roll up a blanket and pad the inside of your ankles so that there's some cushioning between your body and the earth. Breathe into your side body here. Notice how the rib cage expands with the breath. Again, we're only here for 1 minute. We're nearly there. And lift your head and walk your arms through center all the way over to the right. And again, you might need to move your cushion or folded blanket so that it's underneath your eyebrow center. And now you're going to feel an extension along the left side, all along the abdomen, the rib cage, the arms. And here where you have your Chandekala Mudra, feel the connection of energy flowing along the full outer line of your body here, coming out and emanating from your index and thumb. 1 minute here. Here in child's pose, where we have almost encased ourselves in darkness. Think of this moment of darkness as the dark face of the moon. This is the period that we are in this waning crescent moon. This balsamic dark moon in which we can look into the inner sides, inner depths. One more breath here in child's pose over to the right. Inhale, walk your hands back through center. And then slide your hands up towards your body to rise up very, very slowly. From here, we're going to move into dragonfly or saddle pose. So let's come onto our sit pose. You might want to use the length of your mat. And we're going to open out our legs into a V shape. Now here, what can sometimes be really helpful is to have a folded blanket or cushion just underneath the tailbone, and it lifts us ever so slightly, which means that we can sit here. So it tilts the pelvic bowl, which means that we can sit here for a little longer. So notice how that aids us to be able to be in dragonfly for a little longer. And maybe edge your ankles, the heels rather, away from each other. So your dragonfly may be a very generous angle, or maybe a less acute angle, more acute angle rather. It doesn't matter where we are. So lengthen here, draw up through that midline, the crown of your head reaching up towards the sky, here where the Sahasrara, the 1,000-petaled lotus is. This is where the light comes into our body and also leaves our body. The connection between the sky, the sun, the earth through the crown, our highest point. Option to stay here as upright as you want. Or you can place a pillow or a bolster in front of you and stack it as high as you want. So yogi's choice here. I'm using my bricks. And then just to bring some extra comfort, I like to place something soft on top here, which is my folded blanket. Now you don't have to have anything here, but I'm going to place my elbows here. And then I'm going to come into my Chandekala Mudra, and I'm going to place my thumbs just above where my eyebrows meet. So I'm also almost using my thumbs as a resting point, and I'm pressing them against this point just above the third eye and the crown. And this is where he said we have the Soma chakra. This is the energy point connected to the moon. So for example, you might be able to lean even further down. So your elbows may even come down towards the earth. That's fine. Reach wherever you can with your elbows. We're hinging from the hips here. So you'll feel extension all the way along the back of your legs. Remember, this is where we remember the first principle of yin. Find your appropriate edge. If you've gone too far, come back, which might mean that you need to reach up with your crown a little bit more. You might need a few more props underneath you so that it's quite high. Or you may need to stay fairly upright. In which case, if you're staying upright, have your hands on your knees. Yogi's edge. And then just ease a little bit back from that edge so that you have room to move into if you choose. And then come into the second principle, remain still. Third principle, hold this pose. Use your breath. Allow any sensations to arise. And if after a few breaths you find you have a little bit more space, hinge forward a little bit more. Perhaps you remove one of the bolsters or blocks or blankets. Perhaps you can open your legs out in a more generous V. So as we were talking about the dark side of the moon, so here the sun, the moon, and the earth are all aligned when we have a new moon. And the moon is between the earth and the sun. So the side of the moon that is illuminated is the side that is facing the sun. The side that is in darkness is the side that's facing the earth. And as we maybe when we look up into the sky, the moon is invisible to us, or perhaps there's just a sliver of a light. We can drop down into our hidden thoughts, feelings, emotions, perhaps fears, perhaps dreams and visions. Turn inward, become introspective. Have trust and faith that the light of the moon will return, that your vision that you look up to will be manifested. One more breath here in Dragonfly. Release your thumbs from your Soma chakra and then begin to walk your hands back towards your body as you rise up. Then with helping hands underneath your thighs and underneath your knees, bend into your knees and draw your legs back in together. And walk your feet in together. Now, just to help us release this, place your hands behind your backs, fingertips pointing forward. And I'm going to be in the Chandekala Mudra here. And just drop your knees over to the left. Open your heart, take your gaze over to the right. Breathe into your abdomen. So this is just a release for Dragonfly. Inhale, head back to center, knees back to center, and then let's release the knees over to the other side now. And look over your shoulder in the opposite direction. Breathe into the abdomen here. This is our counter pose for today. And then let's inhale back to center. We're going to move into sleeping swan. So you may again have some props available at the top of your mat, your blocks or your bolster, should you want to make use of them, your blankets or cushions. Again, you can pad, make sure if you've already got your mat padded, stick with that. So let's roll over onto our knees here. Come into table. This is how we're going to progress from here. So let's reach back with our right leg, tuck the toes for a moment. Bend into that right knee, bring it in towards your nose as you round through your back. And then thread that right knee in over towards your right hand. And reach back with your left foot, your left leg, slide it back. What can help here is if your right hip is very lifted, you can take your folded blanket or cushion and place it underneath your right buttock. So you have a little bit of support there. You can always roll onto your right hip and then adjust your right foot to where you want it. So angle that right foot. Flex that right foot. And then have it to where it feels comfortable and then turn back over. So your right heel may be very close to your left hip or your right shin may be perpendicular to the top of your mat. We're all in different places here. High pigeon here first. And then we're going to fold forward. Now again, this is where you might want to have your blocks, your bolsters, or your cushions. Because as we fold forward here, we're going to bring our elbows to the earth or onto our cushions. And again, we're coming to the same pose where we're taking our thumbs and we're pressing them above the eyebrow center, just under the hairline where the Soma chakra is. So your elbows here can be raised up or they can be directly on the floor. And make any adjustments you need before you settle in here. And if your thumb gets tired with the weight of your head because you're dropping the weight of your head down, then you can always release your hands and give yourself a little break. And then you can place a block underneath your eyebrow center instead of using your hands. You can also cross your thumbs and extend your index fingers here so that when you cross your thumbs, it might feel more supported with your index fingers together, or the rest of your fingers interlaced into Kallie Mudra. So we'll spend a couple of minutes here in Sleeping Swan. Make sure that you feel supported. So if you are beginning to feel any very deep sensations that are beginning to overwhelm you, you want to experience some challenge here. You want to come to the edge. You want to feel like there's still a little bit of room for you to go further if you wish. So always ease back a little bit from that edge. Maybe 90%, 80%. So you're only up to 80% or 90% of the depths into which you can access this pose. The new moon is an opportunity for introspection. To really recognize and see what is within. So as the moon, the dark side of the moon, the dark moon casts its shadow over us, and the face of the moon is towards the sun. Know that you can set a vision, you can plant a seed, so that as the moon begins to wax, to come into the fullness of the moon, it will nourish your hopes, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, your plans with its sweet nourishment of soma, nectar, honey. We're going to move to the other side now. So let's release your hands from underneath your forehead, if they're underneath your forehead, and come onto your palms, lifting up. Tuck your left toe, lift that left knee, and then you can bring that left knee down and then slide back along with that right leg. Tuck the toe here, just to stretch out that right leg. And then bring that right knee to the earth. I'm going to go the opposite direction now. So again, I'm going to extend that left leg long, tuck the toes. For a moment, connect with the energy pulsating, passing through you as a bright light. Bend into that left knee, bring it in towards your nose, and then thread it through to come to where your left hand is. And as you do that, slide your right knee away, slide your right foot away. Now, where your left buttock is raised, you want to sit on something, you'll place a blanket there so that there's no gap there. Roll onto that buttock and then adjust your foot by flexing your foot and having it at an angle that feels comfortable for you, that you can sustain. So this will all depend on how much room we have in our hips or in our joints here. And then roll back onto your right leg. Stay tall here for a moment, staying high, before we come onto our elbows. And remember again, so for the Kallie Mudra option, which I gave you, is interlace all your fingers, extend your index, and then cross your left thumb over your right thumb. And then you can always place your thumbs on your Soma chakra here, just above the third eye, below the hairline. And connect with your mantra, your intention, your affirmation. Som Somaya Namaha. Som Somaya Namaha. Som Somaya Namaha. I draw in the essence of soma, of nectar from the moon, to nourish my inner self. I renew my essence. I draw upon the moon's energies to support growth and creativity. I look into those invisible, hidden aspects that are beyond my vision and trust that I will see, that the light will shine, that what is hidden will arise. What is buried deep in consciousness will surface. This new moon in Aries is connected to inner fire, the sense of sight, the vision, to be able to have clarity about what it is that we can identify, perceive, that we can be the seer and we can be seen. No need to hide in the shadows or the darkness. We can be in the darkness and then move from that darkness. Darkness is not always a place in which you can also feel safe, comforted, blanketed. We may not be ready for change. We may feel the magnetic pull of the moon, of the lunar cycles, on our emotions, our thoughts, our bodies, our natural rhythms. Seeking to bring us into alignment with nature. So we trust that that direction will serve us. And we respond to what arises for us. Let's have 6 more breaths here in Sleeping Swan. Observing any sensations that arise, allowing them to dissipate and dissolve with your out breath. On your 6th count here, release your hands from your eyebrow center, your Soma chakra. Rise up onto your hands, tuck the right toes, lift the right knee, and then take the left knee back, bring the right knee back. You might want to take the left leg all the way back, actually. Just give it a little stretch, extending it. And then let's bring that knee back down onto the earth. From here, we're going to move into caterpillar. So come onto your sit bones here and extend your legs long in front of you. Again, you have the choice here of coming to sit on your blanket. So sitting on the edge of your blanket and extend your legs long. So today you can reach forward with your toes. Sometimes we place a bolster or a cushion underneath our knees. If you wish to take that option, of course you are invited to do so. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you to maybe take your legs a little bit apart so they're still parallel, and have available some cushions, blocks, but we're not going to place them underneath our knees. We're going to place them between legs as an alternative here. I'll just have those ready. You don't even have to use the blocks at all. What we're going to do, if I start with the first demonstration of using the blocks, I'll just stack them in front of you. I'll have them that way. So you might want to have them long ways. Lengthen up. And then as you exhale, we're going to hinge towards our feet. And then we can bring our elbows onto wherever, if we have something there that we can rest on. If we don't have anything there, we can bring them onto our knees or onto our legs. So our elbows might be on our thighs, on our knees, beyond our knees, so that we are resting again on our thumbs here. Index, all fingers interlaced, index extended, left thumb crossed over the right. And then it can kind of come a little bit parallel underneath your Soma chakra point. If the earth is too far for you to rest your elbows, then use whichever props bring the earth up towards you. We're hinging from the hips here. And what you might find as you stay in this pose is after a while, you can slide your blocks a little bit more forward because you've got a little bit more room to hinge. Maintain length in your spine. So coming into caterpillar. And of course, your legs We're not having them as wide as we did in Dragonfly. So bringing them closer together. Clearly you have blocks or cushions between your legs, then you'll have them more apart. If you just have your legs together and you're resting your elbows on your thighs or knees, or cushion on your thighs, then your feet can be closer together. There's lots of options here. So you will feel this along the back of the legs, along the length of your spine. Keep your feet flexed perhaps. That will intensify the experience. Remember that whether your feet are relaxed or flexed, that will change the edge for you. So that first principle of yin, find your appropriate edge. You can play around with that edge. Remain still. Be with your breath, your steady, calm breath. And perhaps you create more space. Remember, if we only go up to 80 or 90% of our edge, we have some room. We have space. By having that extra space, it enables us to hold the pose. Whereas if we go right to the edge, we might feel like it's too intense, and then we have to move back and back and back from that edge. Retreat from that edge. So around any new moon, especially new moon in Aries, there's going to be heightened emotions. Especially this one that has a strong connection to the fire energy, the fire element. So we may find that our arguments are more volatile. We may be more explosive, inviting in this cooling yin energy to pour water on the emotions, but to sort of lessen the intensity so that they are not burning others around us. That we don't become overwhelmed by these emotions. We have 3 more breaths here in Caterpillar. Release your hands from your eyebrow center. And then let's unfurl our spine 1 vertebrae at a time. I like to slide my hands up on my legs here to rise up. Take a moment here. And again, let's bend, place our hands behind us. Fingers pointing forward. I've got my Chandekala Mudra again. Bend into your knees. Let's just flex them over to the left for a moment. Again, open your heart. Maybe you lift your gaze here. Breathe deeply. Om Som Somaya Namaha. Connect with your intention, your mantra. Om Som Somaya Namaha. Inhale back to center. And let's release the knees over to the other side. Again, let's look over. Shoulder. So this time we're taking a more open, we're looking in the same direction as our knees this time. So we're a little bit more open here. Back to center. Take a moment here. You might want to rotate your wrists one way then the other way. We're going to move into saddle pose. So this pose is where we have our legs folded underneath us, and see how you go with this, because for some of us, if we have knee stories and there's stuff going on in our joints, we may find this folding of the legs underneath us very challenging. I'll give you an alternative. So let's place something on the earth behind us. We're going to recline onto whatever's behind us. So the angle here is important. The lower down to the earth it is, the more intense this experience is going to be in our knees and our thighs. The higher the angle of whatever our block is, or bolsters or pillows, less we have to recline back. So you might even want to place this against your armchair or your sofa so you don't have very far to go back at all. What we want to try and do is see what's going on with our legs. So let's start there. And remember, you can always change the angle because we're going to come to 80% or 90% of where we are rather than 100%. And I particularly like to have a sort of pillow for my head. So I'll just have that lined up for myself there. And if you want to have a knee, have your knees folded underneath you, you can have your blanket. So the not folding your knee option underneath your body is to bring your lower back up towards whichever support you have behind your back. So remember, you're going to come to your angle here. Feet flat on the earth, knees bent. And if you're not folding your knees underneath you, what you're going to do is bring your heels as close to your sit bones as possible. And then you can do one, or you can do both. And then push your knees forward. So your heels are as close to your sit bones as possible, and your knees are going forward. So you are still getting a little stretch here. What you might want to do is lower the angle of your pillow or bolster so that you get even more space here. That's the alternative option depending on what's going on with your knees. If you're folding your knees back underneath you, let's start with the left foot. Fold that underneath us. Your right foot can stay flat on the earth with the knee bent here. So this is less intense, and then you can lower yourself onto your bolster or your pillow. So we'll start with half saddle, and then we can always see if we want to. If you do have a very regular yoga practice, you might want to go into saddle with both legs. Now, see where you're going to experience it. You are going to feel it in your front line here on your thighs. You will have an experience in your knees. But if you feel pain in your knees, then you need to think about, okay, maybe I need to release my foot because it might feel too intense. Or the other way you can do it to reduce the intensity is to rise up so that there's less weight going back, and the sitting upright might reduce that sensation. So check how you want to do this. If the inside of your ankle or the foot, the top of your foot feels uncomfortable, again, place a blanket or a cushion underneath there. So come into the variation you can find your appropriate edge in. You don't even have to use a bolster here. You can come to the floor. If you don't have a bolster, if you haven't got a large pillow there, an alternative without that available is to be on your forearms. And you can keep your chin tucked here. You are coming to the floor and see how that feels. So you can see what happens with me. My knee lifts up here. So this is too intense for me to come directly to the floor. So I need a little bit of support underneath my back. Because the more my knee lifts up, the more pressure I feel in my patella. So we're all going to be in different places here. Breathe into the sensation. Perhaps you want to place your hand here on the headlights of your hips or on your thigh. If you feel sensation and you just want to offer it a little bit of comfort. If your arms are alongside your body, you can have your Chandekala Mudra. Close your eyes. If your lower back begins to pinch, then again you may be reclined too far towards the earth and you want to again rise up a little bit. Thinking about the qualities associated with Aries. Strong, strength, courage, resilience, determination, ability to overcome obstacles and hurdles. Those are the qualities that you can draw upon during this part of the lunar cycle to help see your vision with greater clarity, or perhaps to implement and manifest your vision with greater commitment. We're going to draw out that left foot from underneath us. So pressing into your hands and forearms, tucking your chin, rise up very slowly, supporting yourself all the way, engage your core. And then let's slide that left foot out, moving with care. And then extend that leg long. Move very slowly because you will feel the points at which it was pinching. And then perhaps flex your toes. Flex your foot. Oh, sorry, puppy. Rotate your ankles one way and the other. Maybe rub that thigh. So we're going to go the other direction now. So bend into that left knee, place the foot on the earth, and then let's fold the right foot and right leg underneath it. So bringing the, let me see how I can show you. So you bring the heel quite close to your right hip, so right buttocks. And you will see when you recline, there'll be a slight turning or torsion of here, which is because your knee, because if you keep your knee straight and go back, you'll find that your body naturally has this curve, this movement in it. So you'll notice, I notice that I begin to turn my knee slightly in as I lower down. Your left foot can be on the earth here to support you. If you want, you can also have the option of extending that left leg as well. So having that bend in the knee supports the lower back. So when we're in a place of darkness, cocooned in that darkness, this place of introspection, of renewal, think of hibernation, think of seeds planted in the soil in darkness. In that place, they are nurtured and then begin to grow forth, reaching for the light. Before breaking through the surface of the soil having rooted first, having grounded first, before reaching up for the light or growing towards the light. So this new moon, this dark moon phase that we're in, coming up to the new moon, is an opportunity for us to do that work inside, deep down. And then take action through the rest of the cycle. We have 6 more breaths here. And we're going to release that foot from underneath us, the right foot. So again, support yourself on your forearms, tuck your chin, engage your core, and then very slowly rise up. Slide that right foot away from you. Extend that right leg long, moving very slowly. Perhaps you wiggle your toes, flex and stretch that foot. Maybe you circle the ankle one way, then the other way. Maybe you rub that right leg long. We're going to come into happy baby before you are invited to move into your Shavasana. Although I do have a little question for you all today, so I'll ask that after class. Otherwise, feel free to stay in Shavasana. So create some space behind you and lower directly to the earth. Tucking your chin here. Tilt your pelvic bowl up so that it rolls in towards you, so that your lower back connects with the earth here. And then hug in your knees towards you. Your option here for happy baby, hands at the back of your thighs. Maybe you take your hands to the outside edges of your feet. Perhaps you take your arms through the middle, wrap them around the lower leg. Perhaps you even take hold of your big toes. Wherever you are, whichever variation you're in, really hug in the knees towards your armpit, the soles of your feet up towards the sky. So here, we're thinking about how we will give fruition, how we will birth our creativity. What are the ideas that we want to give vision to? What is the possibility of the moon here, the potentiality of the moon? So in this dark phase, this dark moon, when the sun, when the illuminated side of the moon begins to turn towards the earth, and our relationship between the earth, the moon, and the sun changes orbit. What is it we want to create in that lunar cycle? What is it we're going to give? What is pregnant with possibility? Som Somaya Namaha. Som Somaya Namaha. Som Somaya Namaha. Releasing your hands from the backs of your thighs or your feet. Bring your soles of your feet to the earth and extend your legs long here. And You can choose to stay in Shavasana.